Hey y'all, it's Olivia and I'm here doing another book review today. So the book that I will be reviewing today is Transmuted by Eve Harms. This is a brand new to the past couple weeks queer body horror novella that I haven't seen anyone else talking about and I think other people should be talking about, so I wanted to review it for y'all today. Transmuted follows a video game streamer named Issa, and at the beginning of the novella, Issa is streaming on a Twitch-like platform after she has just successfully crowdfunded for facial feminization surgery. And right as she's getting ready to book her surgery and, set off to like something that she's been planning for a long time, that she feels like is important for her mental health and her overall well-being and body image, she gets a call from her sister that her dad is dying, that he is able to go through like an experimental chemotherapy, and that they are going to need this $30,000 that she just crowdfunded for the surgery. And she already has like a strained relationship with her family. Her sister's not great to her. Her dad does not really respect her, dead names her throughout the book. But she does give them the money, and even with giving the money, they don't have high hopes for this medical procedure that he has to go through. So from that point, and I'm going to be as spoiler free as possible for this novella, because like any horror book, you don't want to be spoiled, but especially a novella, a lot happens in a short time. So I think that going into it without knowing too much is always going to be the best bet, but I wanted to give just like an overview of my thoughts. Because she's had to give up this money that she's crowdfunded for, she looks for alternate procedures for facial feminization. And then things kick off from there. Whenever she finds an experimental procedure to go through, it definitely does have like some of the weirdest, coolest body horror sequences that I have ever read before, and could visualize a little bit. I don't want to say too clearly. It was really cool. I enjoyed the whole experience of reading it. I had seen someone retweet it on Twitter and I was like, ooh, that looks really cool. And I bought it and immediately read it in one sitting. And I think this is a really cool novel. I think that some things that I really enjoyed from it were that, as you can tell from the title of the book, Transmuted, that word is associated with alchemy, and there are themes of alchemy throughout this novella that I don't want to talk about too much, but that you can just, even following the author on Instagram, I can tell that she's like researched this a lot, that she is clearly very passionate about writing on this topic. Because, okay, so halfway through the book, it's like she's already gone through like this experimental procedure for facial feminization that has gone off the rails as anticipated from a body horror novella as it's advertised. I don't think that's spoiling it. Goes off the rails, but like that's happened by halfway through the book, and I could not have predicted where it goes. It gets very odd. I don't think there's no way to predict where it goes, which is what's cool about it. But it was surprising to me. It's hard to say that it made sense, but it didn't not make sense. Stuff gets wild, but I was able to suspend my disbelief. There's also like incredible action sequences in this, which I was not anticipating. just really cool. So like Cronenberg, like body horror, there is yeah, the alchemy and well-researched things going on related to that. There's no way to talk about the second half of the novel without spoiling it. So just believe me that you should pick it up and read it. The topics that were explored in this novella that I thought were really interesting, and this is an Own Voices book, but it's very queer. It's very queer, and like I've talked about before, I love whenever queer authors are able to write the queer stories and the queer horror stories that I think we deserve, because they don't have just one idea of what it means to be queer, and that there's a lot of different stories that we can be telling, and that you can read a novella by about a queer person who's like making decisions that maybe you're like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. But queer people are allowed to be flawed and to choose decisions based off of whenever you think that they should be being selfish and protecting themselves, that it is complicated. It's complicated to be a queer person in the world. And like I was talking about, like that happens at the very beginning of the book, that she gives like all of this money that she's crowdfunded to her dad, who doesn't even really respect her identity at all. And it's like, well, why would she do that? You know, you should have been selfish and kept that money for yourself. And then I was gonna say, and then none of this would have happened. But like the other thing of this is like, this story only makes sense in the United States. It's like, why there would be no problems here, and she wouldn't be having to like find these alternate procedures to be done if we just had healthcare. If we just had healthcare, this book couldn't have existed. So we gotta thank Trump and Biden for coming together to help us out and pulling this novella out. So I think that's interesting whenever there's like a very political, sorry, Roland is being a little bit of a menace, a political reason that can like kickstart horror. And that's one of the reasons why I love horror too, is because we're able to talk about our anxieties with the world at large through these stories. And I think that that's why horror has resonated with so many people throughout time, because we're able to explore our anxieties in a controlled way. Another topic that was raised in this book that I think is, I wouldn't say raised, like on the page, it wasn't like, let's talk about this is a problem, but was something that was shown in the book. Because our healthcare system is how it is, it forces trans people's healthcare to be dependent on the charity of others. Like whenever it's talking about how she's crowdfunded for her surgery through Twitch, and then like her followers on Twitch then feel like entitled to information about her surgery and like very like personal details, and like that Issa feels like if she doesn't get the surgery, then like everyone's gonna be disappointed in her, and just like what transition means for people is talked about. That's a complex feeling about like wanting feminization surgeries and like what it means to transition, and that it's different for everyone, but also like that no one's entitled to what a trans person's like transition experience is. I think that was brought upon at the beginning of the novella, but not like there was never any like moralizing about it. It's just what kickstarts everything. And then I think that that's really cool too, that it puts trust in the reader to be thinking about these things without you know, having to write it all down on the page. Just wow. I can't wait till other people read this and we can talk about the whole second half of the novella, because I can't talk about it at all. I can't talk about it at all right now because I don't want to spoil anything. But what else is there to say? That there's a little bit of like gaming culture in there. Like one of the people who shouted out her crowdfunding on social media was H Gunner Guy, which for people in gaming like is clearly H Bomber Guy. So like just like those like tie-in references, like if you're in the know, it's not meaningful that you're like familiar with these people beforehand, but just like an interesting little like shout out. So all the things. Interesting discussion about transition. Perfect body horror, just like incredible, and like true body horror where the body is the horror and like everything that you expect to come with that. And alchemy stuff that I can't talk about, all the cool stuff. If you haven't read this book, which if you're watching this, then you probably haven't. So you're like, Olivia, what in the world are you talking about? But just read it. It's just a few dollars on Kindle and so worth the price. I think that you will have an entertaining time reading it if you're interested in body horror at all. If you have any questions about it, just like let me know down in the comments and I will try to answer anything that I don't think is going to be a spoiler. And yeah, definitely check it out and let me know what you think. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.